Okay, that was Mob Psycho Season 3, Episode 9. I have so many, like this is, like, a really great setup for potentially, like, depending which route they go, like, an ending. Because we have to, like, if there is any chance that when we were within the first season and maybe the beginning of Season 2, if there was any chance that we were right about there being something else to Mob and a dark passenger and it coming out when he's unconscious, this would be it.
That's true.
If there's any truth to that, this would be the time to do it. It doesn't have to be. I could see it going other directions too, but I'm just saying.
I almost saw what happened here and the succession of the two events as almost like as a statement almost about his relationship and feelings with Tsubomi. Like, as a kid, he tried to appeal to her through his psychic abilities and showed it to her. The cat's running across the street, he uses his psychic abilities for the cat. And now he's resolving himself to be his true self. Psychic abilities out the window. What?
He's not relying on it.
He's not relying on it, and he's appearing to her with flowers. He's going to meet with her. This is him as Mob, the middle school kid in love, not Mob, the psychic kid. He uses his own body here to protect the kid instead of his psychic abilities the second time.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I do think it's a representation of how he's changed and going about it towards Tsubomi. I also think in world thinking there wasn't enough time to use his psychic powers, and his body moved before he could even think.
I'm sure his body moved before he could even think about it.
That's it. I'm not gonna lie. Even though I know there's at least a couple more episodes, right? Like, there has to be. Even though that's the case, and I know that he's not just gonna die here, it's not like a fear of death right now for Mob, even though it could be. I mean, there's a hell of a lot of damage. It's like, to
have that much blood, I don't know.
I dislike seeing him hurt, like in like a physical way. Like, this feels different than any other time he's ever been in a fight or ever been pushed up with his back against the wall, even 2x5.
We've only ever seen him get emotionally hurt, really. Like, not like gravely injured. I feel like the worst hurt we've ever seen of him is on the emotional level.
Where do you think they're going to go with it?
I don't know, because this is kind of the most grave that the show has ever gone. Other than, okay, so Dimple is gone now, and I thought that was like, wow, the show's actually doing something, like really showing major consequences, major injury, death, anything of the sort. I thought that was just like, okay, cool, they had Dimple go away. Wow, we're doing something a little different for the show. And now this is happening, and I'm like, oh my god, they went there. Like, this isn't like, oh, I'm taking your twin into the other room and gonna kill him, but we actually know the twin's still alive because they're telepathic.
Is this lighting your family on fire and showing a corpse in any episode, though?
There's no way this isn't, like, authentically he got hit by a car.
Oh, no, I completely think he authentically got hit by a car and he is very hurt right now. I'm, like, just what happens next? Like, is it a Mob's in a coma time skip? Is it everything in the world immediately after this goes to shit because he is unconscious now and not in control?
I don't know how romance they're going with this.
Yeah.
And so, and this isn't a theory, I believe, but I'm going to call upon my experience with the romance genre from Hallmark movies, romance, anime, all of that. They have a date set. They have a plan. He has flowers, but he does not arrive to their said date that they're both meant to arrive to.
Mom
she doesn't realize why he isn't there. She moves away. He wakes up from his coma, realizes she's already moved. It's too late. And then when they're like 28, she moves back into town and he owns a flower shop.
Yeah.
And she's a big time CEO and she's tired of her lawyer boyfriend and they rekindle their romance.
So you are telling me that next episode's going to start off with Mob waking up years from now. Going to be much older.
Already in high school.
Reagan's dead. Gone.
No, just high school.
Okay,
just high school.
Okay.
She moves away.
So he's gonna wake up a couple years from now.
Or even a couple months, because she just has to move away after the school year, like for high school.
He wakes up 3 months from now. Fair?
Cool.
5 months from now.
I don't know how long their semesters, their third year
A year from now is safe. He wakes up a year from now, and he sees that she's gone, and he's like, "Damn it, that sucks. Live the rest of my life." We get a flash forward to his mid-20s. He's working at the same flower shop because obviously he has a connection, and I don't know what that implies for Reagan.
And flowers were like the last beautiful thing he saw before he got in his coma.
Still, even after a year, I'm assuming you meant Reagan dies, because I don't understand what future mob isn't working for Reagan and instead of flower shop, unless something awful happens to Reagan.
Well, mob's allowed to pick his own path. Reagan always told him that.
Not always, but he has come
Reagan
around.
Since Reagan has come to grow as a person.
Yeah.
Has
and then
let mob make his own choices.
And then Tsubomi comes back in and tries to buy flowers or something for somebody.
But she specifically has to have a deadbeat and or mean boyfriend.
Okay.
Or fiance. And then she can come back in the picture.
Interesting. I could see them going down that route.
Well, like I said, I don't know how romance they're going with this.
I do think that it's going to result into something immediate, because I think that there'd have to be some type of, I don't know, action sequence before the series ends, or maybe I don't think there needs to be an
action sequence after this. You know, like what would it be other than
Mob being unconscious or somebody taking advantage of the fact that Mob's not around?
Oh my god. Okay. This is like wild and crazy. Love crazy. It. So we're like, okay, unconscious, dark passenger. We don't totally know what is the inside of Mob's head like. You know, what is actually in there when he is knocked unconscious. Remember the first episode? And we have Mob fighting all of these crazy looking creatures. No way you wrote that down. Stop. Okay, you did. So we've already seen aliens for like a little bit. And we're both like, we're not going to do aliens in space again. And like, I'm like, what if all of these things are like, Mob has to fight them in order to regain consciousness or something like that?
Maybe.
And defeat them?
Or they okay, so I think specifically, like, my big thing is like the last episode, the series is gonna end with the fighting scene that we began with, like that, like it's textbook bookending a series, right?
That has to happen.
If it happened, amazing, super hype. If the thing that we see as Mob isn't Mob, and he's actually the people we're rooting against, and everything fighting him are the creatures that our one friend have already caught and has trained, and Mogami even comes back and tries to help, all to beat this thing for Mob, then that'd be fucking phenomenal. And I think I'd cry.
The only other instance I can think of gathering all those crazy looking beings is the jar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, either this is just what the inside of Mob's head is like, or he goes inside the jar, or something.
I think the idea of ending it, like, I have it in my phone notes, and I was gonna bring it up in our intro, but we're trying to do shorter intros. So I was like, okay, definitely gotta remember to bring it up in the discussion. But in that sense, I didn't know how we were gonna get there. And then I'm remembering what he looks like in that first scene, right? He's like reminiscent of this on the front of my notebook. That's how I remember it. I don't know if you can see that, but it's like all black or all white body, and the inverted color is breaking from his eyes. And I think the idea that we've never seen Mob like that to that extent, the potential theory that being a bad Mob that we're actually fighting against, I think is kind of cool. But also, if it just bookends with that and we're still rooting for Mob, I'm 100% there for it. I hope it does.
It's like for Mob, it's like, you know, the true friends are the ones that we made along the way or whatever. It's like the true enemy to Mob has always been
his psychic powers.
Mob.
Yeah.
And whether that's psychic powers or that's him putting himself down, him being too much of a people pleaser, like he was all of these things that were hurting himself that were separate from the psychic powers. Like if the psychic powers didn't exist, he was still not being very kind to himself when we first met him.
Yeah.
And he was letting people walk over him. He was letting people tell him what to do. He wasn't really letting himself feel. And now he is starting to feel.
My only concern with it being the I don't know if I want it to go the unconscious route. I'm only feeling like it might because of the instance we're in.
The head wound.
Yeah, but if it goes down the dangerous when unconscious route, I don't know how good of an explanation they could give it in a couple episodes other than being just Mob's dangerous when he's asleep. Like, you know.
And then how do you fix that? Because then the general public will be scared of Mob. You know, if we're creating a scene here where he awakens in this powerful, terrifying form in front of all of these pedestrians, how do you wrap everything up where no one is scared of Mob by the end?
You know, psychic
after a couple
powers can
episodes?
Erase memories if it's from somebody strong enough.
Has any character done that?
I thought Dimple and Mob did that at the end of a couple episodes ago to forget that the whole church thing with Dimple happened, or at least did part of it.
Oh,
I don't know.
I thought it was more that he kind of released them from their brainwashing,
that
and
he
therefore
definitely
they didn't
do.
Remember it.
I don't know. I'm not too confident.
What are all the
completely
inner
wrong,
workings?
So please tell me how it works.
I
Yeah.
feel like we need to take a class in
we don't
psychic
rewatch our
abilities from the show.
shows.
Yeah, we don't rewatch.
And usually when I watch something on my own, I'm like rewatching it constantly to try to understand it. But if they introduced a dark passenger, it's hard for me to believe I'd be satisfied with it.
If you're only given the rest of a Mob
to
Psycho
explain how he got
season.
it in the first place, you know. We still have like a, I don't know, it was interesting how they kind of departed from how we first learned about there being other psychics and how there were machines that could give people slight amplification, but all of that turned out to be just shared psychic powers rather. So like I do have questions still that I have never expected to be answered about how someone is born psychic, but I don't think it's that important. But if there is a dark passenger, I think that it's important to answer why there would be one.
Right. I mean, we always talk about how the psychic abilities in the show and the things of that nature, the show isn't actually about that.
Correct.
And it's more drawing attention to and or making you pay more attention to this middle school character and the things that he's going through inside his head, inside his mind, and the stuff that he's working through and realizing and growing within himself. And the psychic powers are this flashy, entertaining, interesting thing that is there to maybe make the story more entertaining or more interesting or really draw you into actually. It's almost like it was there as like a flashy thing, like, hey, you should watch this show, you should pay attention to me. And then once you get into it, you're like, oh my god, Mob is like my little baby child and I want to protect him. And like you're really more enamored with Mob as a person and not Mob as a psychic. And I think that's kind of what the purpose of the psychic powers is.
I can name a lot of amazing episodes in the series, like my favorites, but I think that most of them would be pretty generic, right? Like 1x3, Dimple, 1x5, Teru. I'd say, like, of course, like going towards the finale, anytime Mob cracks, but like those are just instances. And then in season 2, I'm thinking like, oh, the obvious ones would be like season 2 x4 and 5 when he goes into like the Mogami sequence, and then and then the next ones with the emotional end of Reagan. Amazing episodes. Want to know what one of my favorite episodes of all of Mob Psycho is? And I don't even know if it's canon or what. Episode 1 of season 2. That's the episode when he got the girlfriend, Emmy, and then he ended up putting the story back together.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's something I wrote down in my notes during this episode, is that Tsubomi has already seen a romantic Mob. She's already seen Mob do. So he's all like, what do I get her? A gift? What do I say to her? Tsubomi has already seen the most romantic gesture and the kindest, friendliest, any of those things gesture. And that was when Mob put back together the manuscript for Emmy.
Yeah.
And she even was like, good going or something.
Yeah.
She witnessed
like, nice
that.
one. Yeah.
So
or smooth.
So when I was listening to him be like, what gift should I give her? What should I say? I need advice. I'm like, anything you do that is artificial or someone else's advice, and like this was before Reagan said it that I was feeling that way, any gift, if you store-bought it, like Tsubomi has already seen that just your kindness and thoughtfulness alone is one of the greatest gifts. And I don't think just presenting her with someone else's idea of what is a way to ask someone out and make them happy would work for her.
I'm trying to think about how Tsubomi feels about Mob, and I've come up to a point where I can only say one statement confidently in regards to how Tsubomi feels about Mob. I think Tsubomi trusts that Mob is a good person.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that...
Dare say maybe the only person that she trusts.
I don't know if she trusts Mob. I can't 100% confidently say she trusts Mob, just like I can't 100% confidently say that she likes Mob as a friend. Because that's what I want to say. But thinking about the whole, like, oh, I'm sure you can handle her now, and about, like, how nobody really knows the true personality of Tsubomi, and we've only seen it a handful of times. Mm-hmm. I'm like, from the handful of times, or the little, like, pebbles we've gotten of it, I feel like she'd be, like, a person who's, like, I'm just vibing. I haven't talked to this dude Mob in, like, years and years. Like, I trust that he's a good dude, and, like, I'm happy for him, but I'm, like, I don't know.
I see her as just not being interested in that sort of thing. Like at the moment, like in the time of her life that she's in, it seems like she's just focused on like maybe I think her best friend is herself, and that's the person that she hangs out with and is with like her true self with. And so her best friend is herself. And I think she's perfectly fine and happy with how things are. It doesn't look like she's searching for love, searching for new and better friends. She's just kind of living, and maybe she's hoping that someday she meets someone that she feels like she can be her true authentic self with, but it doesn't seem like she's searching for it.
Yeah.
She's kind of like doing things she likes to do while still protecting who she really is.
Yeah. So, like, getting out of the realm of, like, what we think is going to happen and more into the realm of what happened this episode that we liked. Mm-hmm. I liked that Tsubomi's hair clip changed in all of the different visions of her at different ages.
Does the blushing mean anything?
I don't think
so. In this scene? She's blushing in all of these times that she's looking directly at Mob in that sequence.
There are times in this that haven't happened yet. So, in my mind, it's all just, like, I'm envisioning it, you know? I'm imagining it.
She looks so cute in her high school uniform.
Yeah.
I think her hair's like up slightly. It's very cute.
So cute. Who gave your favorite advice this episode?
Reagan honestly gave the actual advice, you know, just kind of being like, be exactly who you are, basically. Giving Mob that confidence that, like, he shouldn't use other people's advice.
Yeah.
And I think that was the smartest advice because of the fact that this isn't a random girl that doesn't know Mob. If he starts acting fake or phony, she's gonna know immediately. She already knows for people she's never even met. She already is skeptical of people that she hasn't met.
Yeah.
But if you are someone she knows, and she might even, like, trust that he's always going to be Mob and act in the Mob way.
Yeah.
Which might have been why she was like, oh, why are you sounding like that on the phone? Because it sounded unusual for him.
But they don't talk a lot, too. Like,
but she's listening to him. We've seen moments where she's watching him and paying attention to him, so we don't know how much she actually knows about the current Mob.
So it's like her character from what we got so far is very interesting. Like, it's very much, I don't care about the bullshit. I'm going to try to find out the truth. I don't want to have to deal with, like, what were they trying to get her to do when her friends were getting to get her to do when Mob stepped in? Were they trying to take her somewhere or trying to get her to say something?
Oh, she had boogies coming out of her nose.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
They were trying to get her to move her hand from her face.
Yeah.
She had just, like, sneezed.
Like, how she talks to Mob on the phone. Like, imagine that you haven't talked to somebody really in a couple years, but you used to be, like, friendly with them. My go-to would be like, oh yeah, of course. And, like, maybe, like, worst case, I'd think some things, but I'd never like think, oh, his voice sounds shaky. I hope everything's okay. I wonder what that's about. But Tsubomi's so quick to it and so direct and like honest, like brutally, like over the phone to Mob, and it's so interesting.
Can Mob handle her? Is what Misato was talking about. The handling. Can you handle someone who is not their authentic self with everyone?
I mean,
Can you handle someone who is fake to people? Can you handle someone who feels like their real self needs to be hidden and you don't even know what that thing is that's hiding there?
I'd like to think that the Mob that we know today, the one whose real talent is telling people the truth and telling people how he feels, isn't that a person who's much more likely to be accepted by Tsubomi because it's closer to who she is?
Is Tsubomi
we've seen her be?
Is Tsubomi the human version of what they're showing us with Mob?
Maybe.
Because we have two characters here, at least this is how Mob started out, where he was, acting a certain way around people to be liked and for people to want to be around him. He was a people pleaser. He let them walk all over him. And that was his own way of feeling safe and secure and like he had friends and that people didn't hate him. And he was also purposefully trying to hide aspects of his own life buried deep. And here we have basically the same situation being talked about with Tsubomi. That the real her is something that she is not so willing to share with other people. And is that the what we're getting here, is that kind of comparison that we have a human and a psychic version with the same basic theme?
I think it could be. Like, it would end that way, right? Because
psychic is a human. I don't know why I keep calling it normal human.
Yeah, I know. But like, I think it could end that way with how Mob's grown and all the development we've seen. I think that the Body Improvement Club was like the funniest scene to me. Like, how can it, like, I just love them so much. They're such good friends and good buddies. I loved Teru's scene because how could I not? And I do think that Teru, like, it's not, I was worried that it was going to be kind of face value with Teru. I'm always worried about that because I might overfeel for his character. I really like his character. And for them to bring it back and have Teru be the one to say, you're the one who compared us in the first place.
Yes, you're the one that said we're alike.
Yeah.
Yes, and if you hadn't said it, I was going to say it right after whatever you were saying.
Yeah, and then he shook Mob's shoulders and was like, loosen up and smile. You have nothing to be ashamed or feel bad about. And I was like, you have nothing to feel bad about, I think is a really, really good sentiment to somebody who's just trying to get better at thinking about his own emotions.
And also the reminder that you are not separate and you are not different from me.
Yes. I think that the Ritsu moment was also really cute and perfect for their dynamic.
For that character, especially. That was so Ritsu to be like, he was on his knees. And I love how they were sitting.
Yeah, and he's like...
And he was so nervous as he was listening to the phone call. I was like, wow, we are Ritsu right now.
I do think, hands down, in my opinion, the best line of advice this entire episode was from Reagan when he said, but in the end, don't worry about strategy. There's no point in trying to keep up appearances with a person you want a deep relationship with. Just be yourself. Show her your true self. Oh, I that's so real. I know that I'm like, just put what you're feeling into words. Easier said than done. But I feel like I'm projecting here. But I know I used to be this way as well, but like I know so many people who, when they're starting to talk to somebody or trying to like get romantically interested with somebody, they're always like, oh, what do you think she'd like to say? What act do I put on to a less dramatic degree than that? But like they're always a little bit like, what's the right thing to say to make her happy? Or like
they hide something, an activity they like to do because they don't think girls like it.
Yeah, but you get in...
Or it makes them look cool.
You get out what you put into that kind of thing. And if you only put a shallow sense of yourself forward in a potential relationship, then the relationship itself is doomed to be shallow. Mm-hmm. But if you... I'm not saying right off the bat, just hand over a resume of your life and all your
I mean, that's how we met.
Yeah. But
not the resume, but being
it was pretty close
selves.
to a resume.
The authentic selves part.
But no, but I if you are, very truthful, it's very hard to do. let's be easy. In my case, at least, and people I know's case, the more they put forward the fake self, the more immediate positive attention it gets. That being said, that positive attention is very short-lived, and it also doesn't feel as good as the rarity comes with being genuine and finding another genuine person who matches.
That likes you for you is such a better feeling than those many people that might like the fake you for a short while.
Yeah. I also want to really shout out, like, on an equal platform of importance, the pigeon color around the neck at timestamp 12:30. People always forget the gradient of the pigeon. You know, it's not harsh. There's not harsh lines. It's a pigeon feather. It's, you know.
That's the most important thing in this episode. You get really upset when you see bad pigeon art.
Yeah.
You're like, how dare you draw that pigeon
apparently
like that?
hit a nerve. Yeah. But I don't know. I really, really love this episode. I'm scared where we're gonna go, but I think I lost track because at the end of last episode, I want to end in that same way of not like overkill with what we're thinking, what's gonna happen. I'm so excited to see what they choose to do.
This is one of those, obviously for the earlier 2 seasons, we didn't have that experience of having to wait for a week before seeing what came next. So obviously imagine if we hadn't been able to go to the next episode after seeing the fire in Mob's house. You know, what if we had to wait a week, you know, thinking that Ritsu and Mob's parents were dead. And now I'm like, oh my god, I have to wait a week. I can't just go right to that next episode to get kind of the actual, like, and get my sigh out, you know, and someone comfort me and be like, nope, okay, Mob's actually still alive. Don't worry.
It's hard to put my feelings into words here, so bear with me. I feel very different about the ending of if I'm trying to project myself into that situation and how I would have felt after that episode. I think after that episode, I would have felt a sense of finality of this plot point, and the next episode's going to be the reaction to it. And then when next episode started and they revealed that it wasn't actually the case, there was a small degree of like worry and disappointment to see what they were going to go with it there. But with this episode, if I didn't assume there were going to be 12 episodes in a series, and they wanted to kill off Mob, this would be the last episode of the entire series. And even like ever. I think that me presuming that there are going to be a couple more episodes almost like guarantees me that Mob's going to survive at least until next episode.
We can hope.
I think so. I'm more scared of the fallout.
Anytime I've seen something where one of the main characters has been killed and or is dead, they're one of many main characters, and or the whole story is about them from like a looking back at the past point of view.
I don't know if we should expect Mob to do anything to help. Like whether he's the cause of the problem.
Anything to help.
Yeah, like going forward in the next few episodes.
I was like, I thought we were talking about this injury that he's laying in the road. I'm like, how is he gonna help himself?
Well,
He's been hit by a car.
In any sense, like if he's the root of the problem or something else happens and he's in a coma, like, or he's just, you know, he's not able to help, like, what we saw happen was like a ridiculously extreme injury. And if he had no psychic barrier up to help with like the physical sense of it, because he was bleeding, without anime talking, it's very hard not to die there.
Yes.
So it is like a legitimate serious injury. I just wonder where that's going to lead us.
I think that right now my heart is going toward the theme that I'm kind of getting from Tsubomi, reflecting what I think is going to happen with Mob, and that is trust. And I feel like we also got that like beginning of the show with Ritsu, and we couldn't tell if he actually trusted Mob and felt safe around Mob with knowing and seeing what he has seen from Mob. And then we have other characters who have seen what Mob can really do and still treat him the same way they did before. But we have the trust issues topic with Tsubomi, and now we have this idea of Mob possibly being unconscious and something happening where maybe people just need to trust that Mob is a good person, and they need to trust in him to be able to get through whatever this thing is, fight off all of those beings from the opening of season 1. They need to trust in him for that. They need to trust in him that he's not evil if he does end up unleashing anything upon the public that's right here.
I have a wrench to throw into your Hallmark theory.
Oh no, I loved my Hallmark theory.
Vacation's already over. Like they're, or as far as I'm concerned, they're going to go back to school again soon. And if that's the case, I think that with Ritsu in the same school especially, it's only a matter of time before the whole school would know about Mob's accident. What if Tsubomi actually has had a crush on Mob this whole time? What if Tsubomi sits with, or this helps her realize it, and Tsubomi sits with Mob at his hospital bed every day?
Well, I mean, it is also, like, it'd be weird to me just obviously without this. I mean, the school thing helps for sure, like, majorly. But I also feel like we've seen from the last 3 seasons, and I've already said it, that Tsubomi pays some attention to Mob and has some awareness of his existence.
Yeah.
So the moment she realizes, I don't even think she needs to hear, but the moment she realizes he's not there in places and times that he normally is, or she has grown accustomed to him being, then there might be a red flag for her. And I don't even know if she'd need to be told that something happened. I mean, obviously she would need to be told eventually so she could actually go sit beside him in the hospital. But
I have one more thing to say. What if this makes him lose his psychic powers?
Whoa! That's nuts. That's nuts.
I
could see it.
I don't think it'd be a bad idea.
I could see it.
Maybe end this whole show with him losing his powers. It doesn't. I
mean, especially with what I've said about how
Yeah.
I feel about this show and what I think it's doing, even though I don't know for sure if that's what it's doing.
Yeah, I feel you. All right, you good?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.
This is kind of the most grave that the show has ever gone. This is kind of the most grave that the show has ever gone. This is kind of the most grave that the show has ever gone.
This is kind of the most grave that the show has ever gone.